Are you a nosy Parker? It's okay if you are. I know I can be one sometimes. Judging by the rubbernecking that goes on behind me here, I'd say most people who walk past my house are nosy Parkers too. Providing we're respecting people's boundaries, there's nothing unhealthy in observing and taking an interest in how other people live their lives, especially if we can learn something that helps us in our own. A few weeks ago, I had the rare treat of meeting up with my friend and fellow autistic YouTuber, Mike from Autistic AF. And whilst I got the kettle on to make us both a cup of Yorkshire tea, he plonked his backpack down right where I'm sat now, giving Neota the time of her life, sniffing out the scents of Mike's 16 cats, 3 dogs, I don't know how many chickens, peacock and whatever else he's got up there on the Isle of Man. She was in animal scent heaven, whilst Mike and I talk shop. It's inevitable that if you bring 2 YouTubers together, we'll start talking content or strategy or algorithms at some point, and Mike and I are no exception to that rule. We often toss around ideas for content from deep, research-heavy or time-consuming projects like Mike's foray into the world of ABA training or my Triad of Distinction, to less intensive but fun ideas we can do straight to camera, or experiences we can share with the viewers. Those last ones are like gold dust for creators like us. The big projects, the ambitious ones, can sometimes take months to see through, so we need easier videos we can make whilst we're working on them in the background, and of course we have off days and rough patches too. Mike gestured over to his backpack whilst Neota was clambering all over it and said he was thinking of doing a "What's in my bag" video, and I know I frowned a little at first. It's one of those ideas that's counterintuitive to my brain, so it just doesn't cross my mind. I mentioned Mike's idea to Alex later on, who said, "Oh, like those celebrity features they do in the glossy mags." Clearly this is a trope I've missed out on, but still, I thought it sounded a little bit lame. What could I do for it anyway? I don't go out much, so my bags are just full of the things I need around the house. Both of them. All 15 kilograms of them, in fact. You know, if I was going to do anything, it ought to be about sorting my bags out, not just nosing at what's in them. Then, a short while ago, Mike put up his "What's in my bag" video, and I was thoroughly gripped from start to finish. Turns out I'm definitely a nosy Parker when I want to be. So, today I'm biting the bullet and inviting you to join me and indulge your inner nosy Parker whilst I expose just how much unnecessary weight I've been carrying around and ditch some of my autistic baggage. With a cup of tea, of course. These are the 2 bags we're going to be rummaging through and sorting out today. But why do I carry 2 big bags around the house with me? It's no secret that I'm disabled and have trouble moving around. I need at least 1 walking stick just to keep my balance even when I'm stood still. So, with one hand always holding a stick, I learned pretty early on to wear clothes with plenty of pockets and to carry a utility bag. Backpacks historically attracted less attention than shoulder bags did, but that's not so much of an issue these days. The spinal arthritis that limits my movement is always uncomfortable, but it can flare up sometimes in moments under the right conditions, and I don't know about it until I try to move. I'm fine when I sit down, but then when I try to stand up, it's like someone hammering railway spikes up my spine, and it doesn't always pass quickly. I can end up immobilised for days, even weeks, so I make sure I have everything I might need in those bags for occasions like that. So, this bag, or one very much like it, has gone everywhere with me for decades, ever since my arthritis first started bothering me. Whenever I move from one room to another, this bag goes with me because it's got everything I need to cover the basics, things I might need on hand at any time of day. But these days, it's not enough. My everywhere bag would come with me to work, to the shops and up to bed with me every night for years and years, but everything changed when I got made redundant from my last job, And all of a sudden, this channel became my primary income. Now, if I get immobilised, I need to think about work as well as the basics I've always carried around. If I'm stuck in place for any length of time, I have to try to work now. So that's where this bag comes in. This is my go anywhere office, if you like. I don't expect to be making videos when I'm stuck in bed or in an armchair, but I try to have everything I need to write, to do stuff online and to make audio recordings. The big bag doesn't go everywhere with me, but it goes up with me to bed in case I get stuck up there because I woke up in a bad way, and I bring it down in the morning in case I have a flare-up down here and get stuck in my armchair. But I've been carrying these two bags around for years now, and they're getting a little full, and heavy of course. Between them, they're a bit over 15 kilos in weight. That's about 33 pounds or 2 stone 5. That's too much for me to be lugging up and down stairs all day. I want to get it down to just the one bag and half the weight if I can manage it. I know there's definitely a few duplicates in there for a start, so let's see how many we can do without. I've set up a table over there with an overhead camera so you can see into my bags as I empty them, and I won't be able to hide any shameful secrets if there are any. I've also got a couple of plastic tubs and buckets to sort things into and a bag for any rubbish too. So, shall we take a look? Okay, let's get started with the big one. So, in the back is the big stuff. We have my big folio notebook. It's the one I use for writing down script ideas for the most part, but it's one of many notebooks, as we'll see. A low-profile mechanical keyboard. I very much like tactile feedback when I'm typing, and so yeah, I've got a few mechanical keyboards. This one I keep in my bag there. And of course, my laptop. The main reason for carrying this big bag around with me. Is there anything else in there? Let's have a look. And that appears to be it in the back pocket. This laptop is probably the only PC I've ever had that probably fits the description of personal computer. Hello, Neota. Coming to help. Good girl. In 1980, my dad bought a second-hand Apple II from a friend of his, and I've had a home computer of some sort ever since. Despite being the main or the sole user of most of them, this is the first one that actually feels personal, though. See you later. I got it about 6 years ago when it was on sale as last year's stock. It's a Lenovo Yoga Slim with a pretty dated processor and only 8 gigs of RAM, which has had Windows 10, Windows 11 and Linux Mint all installed at different times. I've done more work, certainly written more words on it, than probably any other machine I've owned. Okay, so we've emptied out the big one at the back. Let's zip that up again. Let's go into the next biggest one. And first thing is my Steam Deck. My Steam Deck. Technically, that means this is another PC that I'm carrying around, but for a completely different purpose. If I end up stuck in one spot, this allows me to at least cheer myself up with my favourite way of wasting time. When the Steam Deck was announced, I put my name on the waiting list, and whilst I wasn't the earliest of birds, I still got mine well before they went on general sale, and I loved it. I've been waiting all my life for a device like that to come along, and ever since I got it, it's become by far my favourite way to play video games. So I carry it in my work bag in case I get immobilised, or I actually get some free time to just play a game. Bit of a rarity that these days. Okay. Now, I don't carry any other tripods around with me, but that one's quite good. It's got a screw on it so you can use it for a regular tripod, and a phone doofer. It's quite stable as well, so I've used that sometimes in the office, in the bedroom. What's this? A stereo cable. That would be why the stereo cable's there. My Walkman. And my digital Walkman, complete with good old-fashioned wired earbuds. This was a gift from Alex that I was so thrilled to get, but then I didn't get enough use out of. The last year or so that I worked in an office, my boss finally consented to me wearing headphones at my desk. They were willing to spring for some Bluetooth headphones, and I played music or work-friendly ambiences on my phone all day. But that caused me a bit of flack with some of my colleagues because we weren't supposed to use our phones in the office. The fact that it was to do with an autistic accommodation actually seemed to make it worse, if anything. So, for Christmas 2019, Alex got me a standalone DAC, a digital music player, this Sony Walkman, and my phone could then stay out of sight. Of course, a couple of months later, in early 2020, a bunch of people got sick on a cruise ship halfway across the world, and the planet turned upside down. I got sent home in the first COVID lockdown, and I've never worked in an office again. I still use my Walkman connected to my car stereo and around the house, but it's nowhere near the 8 hours a day service it was expected to do. Still an absolutely brilliant thing to have, and it's chock full of my favourite music and comedy. Okay, a torch. Sorry, flashlight for anybody who's not British. And a box full of memory sticks, adapters, oh, and little lights that plug in when you plug them into USB. They're quite cool, those. A key ring with a load of USB sticks on it. So, just rubbish in there now. Okay. Next pocket. A pair of socks. Pens. Paracetamol. That's acetaminophen to top up the autism, I suppose. Neck speakers. I love these things. They go very well with that. 2026 diary. I suppose I'm going to need that. Pencil. A USB-A to C. USB-C to USB 3 hard drive. Never-ending pencil. Ooh, a folding carrier bag. Very handy. USB-A to C adapter. One more pocket to go. I knew we'd find at least one of these. An infinity cube. My favourite fidget toy of choice. There's always one in my carry-around bag, and I was sure I had one in here as well. A lens cloth. Another thing I've got everywhere. That's pretty much identical to the one I've got in my pocket right there. Migraine tablets. I never ever go anywhere without migraine tablets. Oh, just noticed. I've pulled out a pair of sponge ear defenders as well. Another folding carrier bag. I think that's a 10,000 mAh power bank. Yeah. Okay. An LED light bar that plugs into said power bank. Oh, that's bright. That is very bright. Okay, rubbish. Spectacle prescription. A couple of loose migraine tablets. USB-C to C. Another short USB-C to C. A set of D&D dies and another different coloured set of D&D dice. And a USB-C to C. And some USB-C to C adapters. Okay, so there's actually a couple more pockets on this, I just realised. So, well, we've got another light attached to the side there. And another mechanical keyboard. This one's quite neat though. This one folds. I know, it's silly, but I love it. Bluetooth or plugs in and then folds up and goes back in there. I absolutely love this keyboard, but I don't need to carry two mechanical keyboards around with me. We have my pencil case, and it's actually got pencils in it. Whatever generation you are, you really have to call this a pencil case because it's full of pencils. I almost always write in pencil. I like to correct myself, so I've always favoured it over ink. And so I've carried a succession of wooden pencils, propelling pencils, clutch pencils and erasers my whole life. And I only write in pen when I have to. I write too fast is half the problem. My fingers can't keep up with my thoughts, so my writing can get illegible really quickly. But the solution lay in slowing myself down and organising my thoughts better. I went back to basics and swapped rollerballs and biros for pencils and fountain pens, things with friction and resistance, and I stopped writing cursive too. I still lose my train of thought sometimes, but at least I can read what I managed to get down on paper first. A spudger and another torch. See if this one's working. Yep, it's got batteries in. Oh my God, I haven't seen these in ages. That's a pair of, still got a charge as well. A pair of Bluetooth earphones that I thought I lost a long, long time ago. So we're tucked down in the pocket there. So, oh, looks like we've got one more pocket down the back here. Right, I don't need to be carrying that around with me. That is a full set of micro screwdrivers. I do have the odd electronics job to do, but I really don't need to be carrying that around with me, I don't think. More pencils. Another USB hub. Okay, and see, I said there was some duplication. There is definitely some here. More spudgers. A little utility knife, folding jobby. And a lens cloth. Oh, is there anything? A micro SD card adapter. Okay. Oh, we have one more. Let's have a look. Got a little pocket up here. It's never ending, isn't it? So, ultra slim reading glasses. I think we might find another couple of pairs of those as we go along. Some Velcro tabs, always very handy to keep around. Some wired headphones, I think that is. Or is it just... No, that is a set of wired headphones. I think I've already seen a pair of those somewhere. Yeah, they were in with my Walkman. Another flashlight. Yeah, slimline one. And, yep, that's charged. Turn it off. That's got too many features, that. Okay, a couple of wrist lanyards. Oh, and some more Velcro tabs. Right, now, is that it? Another die. Come on, that is it, surely. And there. That's it. We've actually done the whole bag. Onto my carry around everywhere bag. My tablet for a start, that does go absolutely everywhere with me. Next to my laptop, that's probably the one gadget that I rely on the most. My tablet. I'm not an Apple person tech-wise. I'm not anti-Apple. Well, not any more than I'm anti-Microsoft, anti-Google, or anti any company that doesn't respect its customers. But my reasons for not having Apple gear aren't moral or political. PCs have always been cheaper and more accessible to me, so in the modern age I use PCs running Windows or Linux or Android on mobile. My wife Alex bought me a Google Nexus 7 for Christmas when it came out, the first ever consumer Android tablet at the time, and I've had a tablet in my bag ever since. I said my little Lenovo laptop is probably my first true personal computer because I do so much of my work and organising my life on it. But before I started a channel, my tablet filled a lot of those roles. But even so, my tablet is still in almost constant use as my primary window into the world and entertainment device. Even when I'm working on one of my laptops, I'll often have a YouTube video or a podcast playing on my tablet through earbuds. This tablet's a couple of years old now. It's a coincidence it also happens to be Lenovo, like my little laptop, but it's been brilliant. Although on paper, my phone is almost always the superior device. I do most of my casual browsing and media consumption on my tablet, so screen quality and sound are high priorities. This one's an 11-inch OLED screen and 4 pretty decent speakers, so even without earbuds, I'm good to go for YouTube, podcasts, and so on. I also do a lot of web browsing on it, particularly when I'm doing that whilst I'm half watching the TV. And it's my e-reader, one that's big and bright enough for graphic novels too. That's an essential, so that's definitely going into the bag that I'm keeping. Okay, my watch, the one I was wearing before I took it off to do this, because like I say, it's very hot. And, okay, some duplication. I don't need to be carrying 2 handheld consoles with me. That one's actually for a specific purpose. My mother-in-law got me this for Christmas last year. It's mainly for emulation, but I can do emulation on the Steam Deck as well. I carry them both because, say, this one's smaller and more lightweight. And to be quite honest, it does most of what the Steam Deck does now, but I'm going to have to make a decision one or the other on those. A dirty great power bank. This is a very good one. It can, I think you can charge up to 100 watts. Was it 140? Okay, this battery bank isn't something I would normally carry around, but it got stuffed in my bag a couple of days ago when I went outside for a while, and it's still there. I always end up putting it in my bag for one specific purpose and then end up carrying it around for days and days before I remember and think to take it out. So I'll still count it against the weight reduction in the end, I think. A more reasonably sized notebook. Another pair of flat reading glasses. Okay. There's a story with those. Earbuds. I used to be absolutely terrible for losing these things, so I've never got expensive ones, and I always keep at least one spare pair on the go. I have got a lot better though. The other day, I finally had a pair die on me for the first time ever. I actually had them long enough without losing them for the battery to wear out and stop recharging. Well, without losing them permanently. They did go astray a few times, but they turned up in the end. So I'm really supposed to only have these 2 pairs on the go now. There's not much to be gained in weight by getting rid of the other ones, but if I'm going to go down to one bag, I don't want to keep them both in the same place. And the white ones, well, they were the ones with a dead battery, so I don't know why I was still carrying those. Another pair of earbuds. Lens cloth again, never have too many of those, but I suppose you can. Another USB C to C cable. USB A to C cable, 3.5 phono cable, stereo. Ooh, a packet of polos. I don't think you get those in the US. Brilliant little mints. This was Lifesavers, I think, are meant to be filled the same sort of thing, but I don't know. Has anybody tried both and got a preference? Okay, now that is not supposed to be there. That is rubbish. That's the cap of one of my injections I take for my arthritis. That must have accidentally fallen in there at some point. So that'll go in the recycling. My wallet. I suppose I'm going to have to carry that around with me. Oh, okay. That's a micro screwdriver with a load of bits built into it. Not much point carrying around that other toolkit if I've got that with me. Well, not much point carrying both, that's the point. Another lens cloth. Another lens cloth. Ooh, now that's fun. I like that. Again, this was another Christmas present from Alex. It's an Ono roller. It's a silent stim. You can roll that around and obviously it clicks against my ring there. Absolutely wonderful for stimming, but on the quiet. It's quite a satisfying motion as well. I like those. I keep that in this bag because obviously it's my go everywhere bag. But that is the sort of thing that is better in a pocket. Another USB-C to C cable. And a USB-C to C cable. And a propelling pencil. Right, what's in here? So that's a battery container which has got a load of USB dongles. Oh, I think that's actually a memory stick. I know why that is. I got a couple of dongles mixed up. I wasn't sure which was which, so I put them in there to sort out later. And yeah, I think that was 4 or 5 months ago. Little lanyard thingy. Oh, it's a couple more bits in the corner here. What have we got there? We have another watch, another dongle, a 128 gigabyte SD card, and a nice little pocket knife that unfortunately I can't carry outside the house with me because the blade locks on it, and locking blades aren't street legal in the UK. Okay, so onto the other side. So start off with a little wad of tissue. Come on, who doesn't carry tissue around in their bag? And another spare pair of socks. It's summer, okay? I'm constantly taking my socks off when it gets too hot, so that's my excuse. Another notebook. All right. That one's relatively fresh. I think I put that one in there because I couldn't find my green one that I pulled out earlier on because it was stuffed at the bottom. Yeah, you get the picture. Okay, I don't know what that's doing in there. That, you can see the logo there, that came with my Steam Deck originally, and it didn't really seem to have a specific use. I never worked out what it was for, and I don't know why it's in there, so, okay. Another USB hub. And another keyboard. This one's quite neat. This one, it's not a mechanical keyboard, obviously, but it's for going with a phone or a tablet. It does, with a phone, it's really, really useful. But again, I only ever use this if I'm out of the house. I don't need to be carrying this around with me. Another pair of reading glasses, a pair of half eyes this time. Yes. Okay, now this is pretty pointless being in there. No wonder it's stuffed at the bottom. This is a great little gadget, but it's like a little keyboard with a spinning jog wheel, which is great for editing jobs once you've got it set up with your PC. But this one only works with a USB-A dongle, and my little personal laptop only has USB-C. It doesn't have Bluetooth on it, so it's only any good on my main work laptop. Absolutely no point it being in here. Another pair of earbuds. Actually, this is the one I use most often, so how that worked its way to the bottom, I don't know. Post-it notes. Oh, some more migraine tablets. This is a little pouch of various bits and pieces. Just little things I don't want to lose. There's a pocket knife. Well, I say a pocket knife. I can't really put this in my pocket outside the house because of the law in this country, but it's a very useful little knife. Little pry bar. My actual wedding ring. This one is a silver spinner ring. It's a little bit bigger than this. Alex got this for me when I was quite a bit heavier. I lost about, what was it? About 80 pounds a couple of years ago. But that was from when I was a bit bigger. It's very hot at the moment, so my fingers are swollen up a bit, so I'm wearing that one. But that's my proper wedding ring. I keep it in there. A screwdriver handle. An Allen key with, handy to have that. Allen key with a Phillips on the end of it. A 512 gigabyte memory stick. I use that a lot, that particular one. What else we got here? More memory sticks. Memory sticks. Adapters. Adapters. Ooh, another Allen key. On the other side, we have a fat pen, a skinny, never-ending pencil, another torch. Ooh, that's a double ender, that one. That is a pen on that end and a never-ending pencil on the other. Best of both worlds. And that is a screwdriver. It's another one that's got heads in the back there. Okay, don't need that. And I think we have another pocket on the side. Okay. More migraine tablets. In my defense, when I get a migraine, it's absolutely terrible and it can knock me off my feet for days. So I have to take these the moment I get the sign that I might be getting a migraine. So I always make sure I've got some very nearby. Okay. We have another infinity cube. I've got a couple over there nearby where I sit of an evening, but yeah, I always carry one around with me. Another set of Bluetooth earbuds. Those are actually my best set, actually. Those are the ones with the best sound of all of them. Oh, I think that's another set of reading glasses. Yes, it is. Little neat little folding pair, those. Okay, that there is actually an old spectacle case, but that has got my voice recorder in there. Well, one of them. I've got a proper Tascam one that I use for broadcast work, but this is for taking notes, and it's really, really useful. It's got a transcription feature on it as well, which has been quite handy. That one I think will be still going with me. Okay. Another torch. A head torch this time. And another torch. A very bright one. Some more Velcro tabs. Okay, I don't know why that's in there at the moment, actually. I haven't... This is a caddy, a hard drive caddy. And the last time I needed to use this was about 8 or 9 months ago. I wanted this the other day as well, and I couldn't find it. It was there all along. I'll put that down there so I know where it is, because I still need to do the same job I was trying to do then. Another flat torch. Pen, another pen. A knife sharpener. Another SD card adapter. Another watch. And a couple more USB adapters. In fact, that I think is an old Logitech universal receiver. And a little digital USB multimeter kind of thing. And that's the lot. That is everything I've been carrying around with me. All 15 kilos of bags and assorted flotsam and jetsam. Right. So, we have my trusty little Lenovo laptop, my tablet and phone, my voice recorder and Walkman, and 2 handheld video game consoles. Then there's 4 USB-C hubs or docks, 1 pointless shuttle controller, 5 pairs of Bluetooth earbuds including one which doesn't charge properly anymore, a pair of neck speakers and some wired earbuds, 2 fast-charging power banks, a USB power tester, and 7 different torches or flashlights, not counting the extra one we found in my zip-up pouch. Next, there's 3 different notebooks and a diary, 6 lens cloths, 2 reusable shopping bags, 3 stim toys, a cuddly toy, 3 wireless keyboards, 3 Casio wristwatches, and 3 sets of precision screwdrivers and bits, 1 electric. Now, 2 pairs of socks, 2 packs of migraine tablets, some loose migraine tablets, and a few paracetamol, a pencil case full of pencils and useful bits and pieces, a zip-up pouch with more pens and useful things, a box of pens and pencils, and some loose pens and pencils, a rainbow of Velcro ties, a sharpening tool, and a selection of spudges. A variety of USB dongles, adapters and connectors, about 2 terabytes of storage across a selection of thumb drives and SD cards, a pair of foam ear defenders, a bunch of cables, mainly USB-C to C, and a little bit of rubbish for the bin. And I realised when recording this voiceover that I forgot the 2 sets of role-playing dice we found too. So, now we've been through everything, what am I going to keep? So, did I learn anything personally from this clear out? Well, yes. But it's actually that I'm getting better than I used to be. That wasn't too bad compared to a lot of my previous attempts to unload my unnecessary baggage, because almost everything I had in my bags had a purpose. Yes, there was a lot of unnecessary duplication, but with a couple of exceptions, everything in there was functional and genuinely useful to me in the scenarios I was preparing for. The reason I carry so much around with me and why I accrue duplicates as time goes on is because, like a lot of autistic people, I have a very high sense of veracity. Autistic veracity is the need within us for things and people to be consistent, to make sense, and to be fair. When things are unpredictable, unreliable, or people mislead us, our sense of veracity is activated, which causes us stress, confusion, and even pain, leading to stress events like meltdowns and shutdowns, and eventually autistic burnout. You'll see our veracity every day reflected in our need for routines and our preference for the familiar. It's why we ask unexpected questions of people, and why our answers to your questions can seem so convoluted. It's in our special interests and in our same foods. It influences who and what we like and dislike, and it's why so many of us are so uncomfortable telling lies, even little white ones.
What?
Autistic veracity can make us unpopular with other people too, like my friend Terry illustrates so well. He's doing okay, by the way, and I'll have an update about how he's getting on soon. Our veracity can make us look like we're being petty, persnickety and pedantic when we're actually just trying to clarify something that doesn't make sense to us yet. It's in full effect when we've gone down the rabbit hole of autistic hyperfocus, though. That's our veracity in turbo mode, peeling back the layers of ignorance and doubt to expose the certainty of raw data, real experience and repeatable solutions. But my veracity has its downsides. Me carrying 15 kilos around on my back when I didn't need to being one of them. My autistic veracity, my need for consistency, is what's made me so conscious of having spares for anything and everything that I rely on. And there's no doubt that my mobility issues complicated it too. Over my 40 plus years of learning from other autistic people, I've met hundreds who describe themselves as being a bit OCD because their veracity makes them very particular about how and when things get done. I've yet to meet a speaking autist who hasn't been picked up for asking too many questions, going into too much detail, or not shutting up when they get onto certain topics. And it's easy to see how my need to have spares of everything I rely on could become a problem if I didn't have periodic clear-outs like we've just done together. Very high autistic veracity can bring us very close to the boundaries of hoarding, or OCD for instance. And our need for clear instructions is frequently misinterpreted as defiance or even subterfuge. Veracity isn't a problem in itself, though. Having a strong motivation towards consistency, repeatability, reliability, accuracy, and candour isn't a bad thing. In fact, it sounds a lot like qualities you might look for in an ideal employee, or even a life partner. Who in their right mind doesn't want someone like that on their side? But we live in a world that challenges our veracity at every turn, so it shouldn't be any wonder that some of the protections and precautions we put in place don't always work out for the best. My need to have spares of everything and to hold on to things whilst they still have utility came about through a combination of my autistically high sense of veracity and my life story. My unique personal ledger of successes and failures led me to learn to look after my things, to keep spares and backups of anything important, and to know how to repair lots of them too. That's reflected not only in the duplicates I ended up carrying around, but all the small tools, the screwdrivers, the penknives, all the torches and lamps, and the myriad of USB adapters. Yes, I ended up carrying around more than I needed to for a while, but I was never short of anything when I needed it. I didn't have to suffer the stress of being without. But we've sorted it out now, haven't we? You've had a nose into my life, and I've now only got one much lighter bag of essentials to carry around the house. It's just over 8 kilos now, so not quite half what it was. So we did really well. Plus, I've got a big red tub of useful bits and pieces looking for a new home. So, what are your bags or pockets like? Do you carry a little office cum workshop around with you like I do? Or are you a minimalist? Is it a well thought out, highly curated set of precisely calculated tools and accessories calibrated for economy and utility? Or a seemingly random collection of stuff nobody else would make sense of? And if it does reflect one of your triad qualities, which one? Do you carry mainly sensory items, emotional trinkets, or tools for veracity? This channel is how I make a living, so subscribing, hitting the bell, and especially signing up to Patreon, where you'll get an extra, more personal video every week, or dropping me a little something on Ko-fi, makes all the difference and helps me pay for little luxuries like food, shelter, and pussycats. Until next time, I'm Quinn and I'm autistic. Thank you so much for your time. Hello again. About half an hour ago I told you why I made this video instead of the one I had planned. It was meant to be easier to make than my usual scripted or research intensive stuff. It turned out to be the most difficult film I've made in years. I anticipated an hour or two's filming and maybe a day to edit, but it's ended up taking me over a fortnight and put me in the role of Ahab to It's White Whale. I probably should have abandoned it after the first week and turned my attention to something less demanding, but you know how it goes. Once I've started something. I've been remarkably autistic over the whole thing, to be honest, and there's little doubt that the ongoing sequence of heat waves we've been enduring here have something to do with it. You might have noticed the odd continuity error in the video or the big fan 2 feet away from me in the sit-down bits. Not only do I struggle in the heat myself, I have lots more to think about and keep on top of being a carer for my wife and mother-in-law too, so I've been permanently overheated and exhausted these last few weeks. I'm also very prone to that most frustrating of autistic and ADHD foibles, that of vastly underestimating how much work or time a task will take. In retrospect, I could have anticipated some of the problems I encountered getting here, but in my enthusiasm, I didn't. I keep my patrons updated on progress in my weekly Hump Day videos over on Patreon, but here on YouTube, I've been quiet for way too long. I've learned a lot from these last couple of weeks, and so I've altered my content plans for the next couple of months to work around this heat we're told is the new normal, instead of battling through it. And I've realised I'm going to have to plan my content much further ahead and factor in a couple of months of blistering heat where working is difficult for next summer, so I don't get caught out again. So, I'd like to apologise to you for the gap between these last two videos, but I'd also like to ask how you're coping if you're stuck in unseasonably over-the-top heat too. I made a video a couple of years ago about how stress and fatigue can almost make us seem more autistic to people when we're under sustained stress, because we're less able to keep up the masks we wear, and many of the coping strategies we put in place break down when we can't maintain them. Is the heat doing that to you, like it seems to have me in the last few weeks? I know this heat is hitting much of Europe right now, and the situation with wildfires and smoke in Canada and the US right now is terrifying, so it's affecting plenty of us. I plan to be back on YouTube in about a week with something very personal about the extremes of autistic experience, so if that tickles your fancy, I'll see you then. Ta-ra!